There's nothing like it. There's nothing like chassing up and down the corridor of other friends in the Virginia Reel, or circling around the park in a chain that's hundreds of dancers long. We're doing so much more than just dance lessons to be active. We are trying to fulfill a deep human longing and restore a very important part of social life that we haven't had in the past several decades, if not century. You'll be waltzing at the end of our first lesson. This is something that I really encourage everyone to jump in.
So when you mentioned that this class teaches Victorian vintage ballroom, it sounds like that's not just a set of moves, but a snapshot from an era prior to ballroom dancing becoming inaccessible.
Absolutely.
When it was social. So
Absolutely.
To be Victorian means also to be social, it sounds like.
It does indeed. And it means to just enjoy expressing oneself in an art form.
Describe how, from a primarily religious activity, you would see, as you described, almost a folk dance environment flow from that.
Right.
How does the dance flow from that?
This is just the amazing thing about festivals. So when we come forth from the church after experiencing this great spiritual nourishment, we're ready to respond in a way. We're ready to express our joy and our gratitude about what we've received, not only in this one liturgy, but from the hands of our great patron, St. Louis. And that's where the recreational receptions come in. And I think in society today, we understand the importance of good company, good music, good food, good drink. But dance is that missing piece.
Welcome to the Singing Dancing Catholic, where we talk about music, theater, dance, media, and performing arts from the Catholic perspective. I'm James Mark. The Singing Dancing Catholic is the official podcast of Oratorio, St. Louis's only urban center for Catholic cultural and performing arts, located at St. Francis de Sales Oratory in Fox Park, St. Louis. The mission of Oratorio is to enrich with performing arts the shared effort to keep Fox Park a beautiful place to live. For information on cultural events, concerts, dances, music lessons, and how you can participate, visit oratoriostl.com. And now, about today's guest. After working as a software developer for nearly a decade in the aerospace industry, Miss Anna KALINOWSKA now devotes herself full-time to the restoration of Christian culture through dance, art, and writing. She first learned English country dance in her childhood under the direction of renowned caller Dr. John Ramsey. Later, she studied the work of Richard Powers in the sphere of traditional ballroom dance. She now calls for country dances and puts on ballroom dance workshops nationwide. Recent notable dance events led by Miss KALINOWSKA include workshops for Cornell University, folk dances at the Festival of St. Louis, Oratorio's Christ the King Ball at St. Francis de Sales Oratory, which numbered over 300 dancers, the French Heritage Festival dance, sponsored by the city of St. Genevieve, and several children's dances for grades ranging from kindergarten to high school. When not dancing or teaching dance, Miss KALINOWSKA enjoys contributing to 1 Peter 5 and the New Liturgical Movement on topics of liturgy, art, and culture. And she recently published a book titled Clothed in Beauty, A Catholic Philosophy of Dress. She also works as a liturgical artist at an oratory in her native St. Louis, where she designs vestments, altar dressings, and floral arrangements for the glory of God. Hello, Anna. Welcome to the Singing Dancing Catholic. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you for joining us. We'll open today's interview with a prayer to Saint Vitus, the patron of performers, particularly dance, but also comedians, actors. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Saint Vitus, glorious martyr of Christ, in thy youth thou wast exposed to violent and dangerous temptations, but in the fear of God and for the love of Jesus thou didst victoriously overcome them. O amiable, holy youth, I implore thee by the love of Jesus, assist me with thy powerful intercession to overcome the temptations to evil, to avoid every occasion of sin, and thus to preserve spotless the robe of innocence and sanctifying grace, and to bring it unstained to the judgment seat of Jesus Christ, that I may forever enjoy the beatific vision of God, which is promised to the pure of heart. Amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. We're here to talk about Waltzing Wednesdays, a whole new class for dance in St. Louis. So let's let listeners know what this is all about. This is a very exciting opportunity for people to come together, to learn new things, to expose themselves to new type of dance in an environment in South City, which has never had it before. So for those who are interested in coming, let's let the listeners know who should come to this. Is this class for everybody? Is it for beginners? Do you need experience to participate? Tell us about the dance student that should come.
Yes, James, I am so excited about this opportunity, and I am welcoming all adults ages 18 and older. So men and women may join as male-female couples, or you may join as a single, and I will do my best during registration to partner you with a training partner.
So it sounds like they can come single, they can come alone, or they can come with a date, with a partner.
Right. And the registration form allows you to register with a partner if you already have one, or as a single. And we will be learning dance from the basics, so you don't have to have previous dance experience. If you do have previous dance experience, that's great too. I have found that this works either way for students.
So it sounds like you could be a total beginner, 2 left feet, no experience, and still enjoy yourself.
Absolutely. And this is social dance. So that's the name of the game. We're looking to enjoy ourselves. We're looking to be social, enjoy the company of our fellow dancers, and really just have a wonderful experience with this active kind of recreation.
What makes it social dance? Like I've heard dance referred to as swing dance, tango dance, waltzing. What makes it social?
Well, this is social dance because it's not competitive and it's not necessarily performative. Although I will say that it does make a great performance. So you will look great when you are performing these dances, but you'll be in a social context, and there won't be the stage where you come in an audience applauding for you, although you probably will garner some applause because the dances are beautiful and just really invigorating. It's kind of a bug that you catch. Like once you experience how fun this is, you're going to want more and more.
So it sounds to me like a low pressure situation.
Absolutely. It's both low pressure and enriching. You're going to learn a lot. It's a great investment in yourself, but it's not something that's going to add stress to your life. Far from it. It's going to give you that midweek kind of boost that you need. It's going to give you something new to think about. And it really is great physical recreation. If you're tired of your usual workout routine, this is just a new way even to stay active.
And move, yeah. By comparison, a competitive dance is something you're getting ready for, maybe even a ticket buying audience to come see, like a spectacle.
Sure, yeah. There are ticketed dance expos with competitive dance, and there are different kinds of competitive dance, but the modern ballroom dance that we may have seen on television with things like Dancing with the Stars or ballroom dance competitions, that is a competitive style of dance.
And this is Waltzing Wednesdays is not that. It's more approachable, more accessible.
Absolutely. And it's also still beautiful. So if you've admired the grace of those ballroom dance competitions and the amazing way the dancers move around the floor, you will also enjoy the more approachable style of social ballroom dance that we are going to learn. But you won't experience that steep learning curve curve and you won't experience that need for kind of elite training for years and years. You'll be waltzing at the end of our first lesson. This is something that I really encourage everyone to jump in. It's not scary. It's not the intimidating thing that some people have experienced with dance in the past.
So in terms of who should come to this, it sounds like if you are somebody who has seen beautiful dancing happening either in person or in a movie, and you've wondered, how do I get into that? What's the first step? Where do I find the portal? Waltzing Wednesday sounds like a good fit for you.
Absolutely. Waltzing Wednesdays is going to satisfy that longing that you may have to just be able to dance the kind of things that you've seen on TV or the classic dances you've always heard of and kind of wished that you could do too.
Fantastic. Now it's called Waltzing Wednesdays. Is waltz what's taught? Is that the only form, or what styles of dance are taught at this class?
This spring, we will be learning waltz, but in general, at Waltzing Wednesdays, you will learn a style of dance called vintage ballroom dance, which is really just an early style of ballroom dance that comes up in sort of the Victorian or Edwardian periods. And it's the style of ballroom dance that is primarily developed for social ballroom settings. So the ballroom dance that we may be more familiar with today, that's taught at virtually all ballroom dance studios, is actually competitive ballroom dance, and it's sometimes called dance sport even, because it's so competitive, it's so broken down into actually scoring and sort of a point system that it becomes an elite sport at the end of the day.
There's probably something equivalent to its own Super Bowl, where at the end of a period, all the top dancers get together.
Absolutely.
And people pay a lot of money to see them.
Absolutely. And this kind of dance doesn't loan itself well to social celebrations or to beginners picking it up or to friends just kind of training with other friends. But what we're learning, vintage ballroom dance, is completely approachable, and you're not going to run into that steep learning curve. It's rewarding. If you're an experienced dancer and you want something more challenging, you'll find that with what we're learning, but you'll also find that you will be circling around the ballroom, performing the steps very early on. You're not going to come to the first lesson and have me say, okay, today all we're going to learn is how to stand right. It's not going to work that way.
Yeah, it's not like when Rocky's getting trained to defeat Apollo Creed. Day one is like, now we can't screw this up, guys.
Exactly.
And is that possibly why it seems like today in America, ballroom dancing, the more elevated style, seems less common? Is it because it sort of has over time become this elite practice that only the athletes, let's say, can do?
Exactly. It was extracted or pushed out of social life and turned into this highly standardized and also commercialized sport that is for elites. And it takes a long time to even be able to learn the basic steps of it. You have to train with someone who is also as committed as you are. You have to put a lot of investment into lessons. And then once you've learned a dance, you can go to a competition, but it's not as if there's even like a social dance or ball that you can go and enjoy just as a social event in the way that in previous cultures, previous eras, we had that, where you could learn, but then also go and celebrate together. You don't have a number on your back. You're not competing.
So when you mentioned that this class teaches Victorian vintage ballroom, it sounds like that's not just a set of moves, but a snapshot from an era prior to ballroom dancing becoming inaccessible. When it was social. So
Absolutely.
To be Victorian means also to be social, it sounds like.
It does indeed. And it means to just enjoy performing or to enjoy expressing oneself in an art form without the need to make it into a sort of sporting event. It's enjoying beauty and art together. Just as we like to enjoy hearing beautiful music at a concert, well, dance is similar, but we get to express something with dance as well. So there's beautiful music involved, but we're expressing ourselves through that dance. And I'll also just say, with calling this vintage or Victorian, we are not reenactors. We are not simply performing a historical exploration kind of exercise. What we're doing is we're just looking at something that worked in the past to fulfill a social need. and bringing that back to the present day and enjoying that in the present day. And so it's not that you even have to have like your Victorian costume or anything.
It's not for LARPers.
Exactly. And there's a lot of good being done by historical dancers who explore exactly how things were done and exactly what was worn. That's all great, but that's kind of a different investment that is required for that. For this, it's just, no, we just want to enjoy dance together and have dances, have balls. And I've identified this style of dance that works really well for that. It adapts itself extremely well to the present day, and it works for everyone.
Fantastic. So Waltzing Wednesdays, if you're somebody who is total, like I said, 2 left feet, absolute beginner, it's for everyone, it's accessible, it's approachable, and as far as the style taught, it includes vintage ballroom, waltzing, and others, but on top of style, the restoration of dance to the social sphere and off the pedestal of competitive environments.
That's right.
Very good. Tell our listeners where they need to go to take this class.
I am so excited to be teaching this class at St. Francis de Sales Gymnasium. It's a great space for dance. I've done classes there before. And the nice thing, too, is the showcase at which we will be able to kind of show what we've learned in these classes is also at that gymnasium. So you'll really get to get a feel for the space where you'll showcase your dance in the lessons.
So wonderful. They come to St. Francis de Sales Oratory in Fox Park, South City, St. Louis.
That's it.
Wonderful. Now let's talk about the why of this. This conversation today is largely about the who, what, where, why, and when. Why dance? And let me unpack that a little bit. You mentioned earlier that it's fitting a missing piece in the social scene. But if we bring that back to, or bring it in, more particular to St. Louis, Missouri, you've taught dance lessons at classes and clinics and called events in a variety of places. As we mentioned in your intro, you've taught at Cornell. You've done the French Heritage Festival in St. Genevieve, Missouri. When it comes to St. Louis, what kinds of things have you been doing, and what kinds of things will this class offer that wasn't already here in Rome of the West?
Sure, yeah. So I have just had kind of a variety of experiences in St. Louis that have all been so good, starting with just groups of friends meeting at the park to dance, or meeting in a smaller studio at one point in time. So I did kind of have a limit on the number of students I could have there. But then also getting to take part in ballroom events through St. Francis de Sales or other churches in the area. But those were usually kind of one and done events, and there wasn't always an opportunity to do a nice series of lessons leading up to the ball. And we can still have great dancing. I will instruct on the fly at balls and at English country dances, but it just adds so much to an event when you can have that educational piece leading up to it and get dancers set up to be able to just take the ballroom floor from the very first moment of music. I've also helped with the Festival of St. Louis and a beautiful dance that takes part at the last reception of that in Forest Park at the Apotheosis of St. Louis. And that is a true celebration of community dancing where we just have men and women and children and people from all over the greater St. Louis region that just jump into dances of all different kinds that I'm able to teach there on the fly at the statue. So it's that's kind of more of like a celebratory folk dancing atmosphere. The thing that you get when you're able to offer that educational piece is you can explore more formal dances that take a little more time to learn the basics, but are so much, there's so much reward in doing that.
When you say you teach on the fly, is that like what I would call the tutorial that goes right before the dance is done at the event itself?
Yes, that is the tutorial. And that's common with English country dancing, where I will take the dancers, let them know what the figures will be, teach them a couple of steps, we'll rehearse the dance without music a little bit, and then we'll just go and perform the dance with music. And everyone seems to do really well with this format, with English country dance. You can do that because you don't have so much a partnership. It is couples dancing. It's not like a solo line dancing kind of thing. It's couples dancing, but there's not the same level of technique with how the partners pair up with the steps. and things like that.
And this new, more institutionalized partnership with Oratorio and the offering of this class, Waltzing Wednesdays, will allow you to not remove those tutorials, but enhance and augment them and buttress them with ongoing education that allows for a more enriched experience for the dancer.
Exactly. And I am just so thrilled to have this partnership because, like I said in the past, I've done things here and there, but what this allows me to do is to have a regular place and a regular rhythm of dance lesson series where people can come and learn, and there will always be at the end of each dance lesson series a culminating event where they can showcase what they've learned. And this just allows me and the community to really put in deeper roots for the growth of dance. I could not be more excited about it.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned the Festival of St. Louis. That is an annual festival that celebrates the Feast of the Saint, but in our case, the namesake of the city as well. And it's an event which includes liturgies. There are masses offered, solemn high masses, vespers. There's some educational lecture components, a symposium, I believe. The dance flows from that. Describe how, from a primarily religious activity, you would see, as you described, almost a folk dance environment flow from that.
Right.
How does the dance flow from that?
This is just the amazing thing about festivals. So we are all celebrating this patron of our city. And we're doing that in all these different ways, but starting with the liturgies. And the liturgies are this source of this great spiritual nourishment for the people of St. Louis, for the pilgrims that come to celebrate this festival from all over. And what we see in those beautiful traditional liturgies is this high form of art and a very formal ritual. You see the priest approaching the altar. Every movement he makes is part of a choreography. It's what we call the rubrics in the liturgy. So the way he moves, even the kind of step he makes up to the altar with the right foot and not the left foot, the way he positions his fingers to offer Holy Mass is dictated every step of the way through the Mass, how he's holding his hands, how he turns, where his eyes move. And that all is a really high form of dance, if I may say so. And as those assisting at the Mass, as those praying at this beautiful ritual, we are being nourished by that. We are supported by that form and carried into it, into our prayer. So when we come forth from the church after experiencing this great spiritual nourishment, we're ready to respond in a way. We're ready to express our joy and our gratitude about what we've received, not only in this one liturgy, but from the hands of our great patron, St. Louis. And that's where the recreational receptions come in. And I think in society today, we understand the importance of good company, good music, good food, good drink. But dance is that missing piece that we don't always have. At the Festival of St. Louis, we do have it though. And we are able to celebrate together at the Apotheosis of St. Louis in Forest Park with all of these festival goers. And there's Ted Drew's frozen custard, and there's dance. There's dance with live music. And we're able to express our joy. So we've been filled up with all these good things. We're able to reply with that word of gratitude that comes in the dance. And you'll talk to dancers and they'll tell you, like, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like chassing up and down the corridor of other friends in the Virginia Reel, or circling around the park in a chain that's hundreds of dancers long. It is a kind of language. It is a kind of response that one can't make by just saying, oh, that was such a cool event. You know?
This is fascinating to me because throughout the 20th century, we heard and saw a lot of language generated about quote-unquote active participation of the faithful and how it was deemed a response, a dialogic component built into the Mass. It also implied that either didn't exist before, it hadn't yet been invented, and so it had to be contrived in a way. But what you're describing is a dance as reciprocity to the priestly action of the Mass for the faithful.
Yeah.
That can be their response.
Yeah, because the traditional liturgy is so so vertically oriented. It draws us up to the author of all beauty and the Lord of creation. Whereas with the leveling of the liturgy, you could say, with this horizontal action in the new Mass, you end up, you have a lot of people talking back and forth to each other. But when you come away from the new liturgy, you haven't had that ascent into this great, high, heavenly liturgy. You haven't felt that profound nourishment that can only come when we stop looking around at each other and when we rise to the heavenly realm. And you just see that always with the arts when we're nourished spiritually, and that doesn't necessarily mean we're talking a lot or we're even doing a lot, but we are caught up in this form that carries us, that heals us. Then when we come away, the fruits that flourish in communities that have that liturgy are indisputable.
So the Festival of St. Louis, as a paramount example, to adorn that festival with dance is to provide the faithful at Mass with an outlet for that which is being charged up and built up while in Mass. They're receiving those graces, they're partaking in this, like you said, this vertical upward ascent to God. At the end, there's almost this even emotional need to express what that built up in you, and dance can provide a way to do that. So it isn't just this, like when we do a carnival and we bring a food truck so that we can get people to come to buy funnel cakes. The dance has not been hitched to this event as a quote-unquote attraction. It is the natural expression of the people following an encounter with the divine.
Absolutely. And I remember that was my first thought when we finished the Rosary, one of our festival evenings, and we had the Ted Drewes custard and we had all these people together, and I saw the space around the statue. I just felt that we had to dance, and that was the whole impetus for bringing that to the festival. And if you look at festivals throughout history, they always involve dance. And it's now sort of become, if you look at things like Oktoberfest or whatever, it's often like a dance troupe, or like it's often kind of isolated into this exposition kind of
a little bit
situation.
Back to the showcase idea.
Yes.
Maybe not as elite, but still blocking or preventing the social connection.
And there's no need for that to be the case. The participants themselves can dance because we have folk styles of dance and this vintage ballroom style of dance that are approachable and doable for all kinds of people. It's just the missing piece of the festival setting or of the party setting. Everyone will realize we don't want to be without this.
So when you said that throughout all of history, there were Catholic festivals that naturally included dance, and that it's sort of a missing piece now. The timing of this interview is interesting because we're about to start Ash Wednesday, which is another way of saying we're concluding the so-called Mardi Gras season. And this is a Catholic festival historically that has been sort of commandeered by people with the wrong intentions of what to purpose it for. There's some controversy that goes with those kinds of events. Let's say what you're describing sounds like a way to solve that problem, to redeem Catholic festivals by reclaiming them with virtuous dance. Like Festival of St. Louis can be an answer or an antithesis to something like Mardi Gras. To say, here's a Catholic festival with devout prayer, with reverence, with piety, and then this fully expressive form of social dance that allows people to virtuously celebrate. Because we're in the city of St. Louis, which claims to have the second largest Mardi Gras outside of New Orleans. And it would be a tragedy if people who were from here and not from here look to this place for examples of Catholic culture and see that, and then walk away with this assumption, oh, they used to have it, but they lost it. Could social dance be a way to remedy the situation of Catholic festivals being commandeered for ulterior motive and sort of reunite them back to the virtuous way they were supposed to be celebrated?
Absolutely. Social dance is something that brings people together in a healthy way and in a way that is structured. So even as I say, these dances are approachable, they're simple, they're doable. There's a structure that you'll learn with the dances that carries you so that you're not falling into this kind of nightclub experience where you look at it and you think like, I would never want my daughter doing this. So
we've encountered cases where we've all seen it, where dance might have been proposed or thought, hey, let's add a dance to this event or at the end of that mass or something. And there's resistance or at least trepidation. Or in the best case, they try it, but there's drama. And it flows from this controversy that dance has unfortunately become associated with for what you just described as degenerate tendency.
Right.
Does social dance, vintage ballroom, the things that will be taught at Waltzing Wednesdays, does that provide a positive way forward from that? Or is this inherently a controversial activity? Is dancing inherently risky?
Well, there are all different styles of dance, and the styles of dance that I see as just the perfect fit for appropriate social dancing for men and women to enjoy as couple dancing together are these styles, English country dance and vintage ballroom dance. And these styles offer everything that most people are looking for in dance. They're fun, they're fast-paced, they have beautiful music, and they involve just some of those classic elements that we see and admire in movies. But there are other kinds of dance that tend to be a little more open-ended or allow for a little more improvisation that can go wrong. And those dances also involve a kind of virtuosity often, so that you'll see like very skillful swing dancers just owning the floor and flipping and spinning. And then a lot of other people get kind of bored with the steps of swing because there isn't really a choreography and you have to kind of do the same thing over and over again unless you're starting to perform.
One of those virtuosic.
And you're getting into more of like a gymnastics element with it. But and then the Latin dances can often be very erotic. They can often have a lot of body contact, and the rhythm itself can sometimes be trending very much in that direction.
So does some of the controversy stem from folks, a general population assumption that that's all dance consists of, or these risky situations where it might go south, it might become inappropriate?
That is correct, James. And I can say when I teach the English country dance and vintage ballroom, I start with couples and show them the proper way to stand together. I show them the proper contact. We have contact in hands, and then the lady's hand on the shoulder, the gentleman's hand on the lady's back of her shoulder, and there's no body contact like modern ballroom dance where you see the couples are kind of glued together, because the technique doesn't require that. So actually the technique, if you don't stand in this formal posture, which I teach in my lessons, then the dance doesn't work. So I'm able to explain to dancers the proper technique. And like I said, the form carries you. The form carries you in so many ways. As you're dancing, as you're remembering all the different points of the proper posture, you're not degenerating into this kind of slow dance or into this kind of more athletic and loosey-goosey kinds of things that we might see in swing or Latin. You'll find that it's all just very structured, and dancers, I find students just experience a great level of comfort with this.
Sure. It also sounds like the absence of form and structure in some of these more trendy dance styles could contribute to this evolution or devolution of what I would call anti-partner dancing, or what I think colloquially would be called freestyle. And here the image in my head is just your typical wedding reception. The floor might even be full of people, but they're all just sort of wiggling and their arms are in the air. You mentioned earlier kind of a nightclub image.
Exactly.
These people don't necessarily have bad intentions, they just don't know form.
Right.
So that's what everybody kind of ends up doing. But I've also noticed when that happens, it tends to predominantly be a female dance floor. And I wonder about this because there's an archetypal experience that every guy goes through when he goes to a dance that is often dismissed as sort of sweet or sentimental, that he would experience anxiety about going up to ask the lady to dance.
Ooh, hello.
And I wonder how much of that anxiety over the past maybe 20, 30 years or more that dance has degenerated into these, quote, freestyle forms flows not so much from the basic anxiety that goes with approaching a young lady, but with total absence of form, total absence of structure, so that he has to kind of invent the wheel of what the dance will look like, and arms on the back of the neck, sort of rocking back and forth. There isn't any form. Neither knows what to do. Mm-hmm. And these dance forms you're describing that will be taught at Waltzing Wednesdays provide the location of the hands, the location of the feet, what move leads to what. And when that is internalized, now there's this extra reason to be confident in asking the lady for the dance. And I just wonder how much that might help solve the problem of these tribal dance floors at wedding receptions, even Catholic wedding receptions.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right, James. I mean, the form, there's even a protocol for the gentleman when he asks the lady to dance to take her hand as he leads her to the ballroom floor. It's all part of the dance. And the gentleman, I think you identify it so well, he has a sense that he's supposed to lead and he's supposed to be in charge. But how do you do that on a mosh pit floor? And I have friends, like you said, well-intentioned dancers will go and kind of jump around for a little bit at a wedding reception because that's the standard right now, not because that anyone feels that's the ideal form of dance. I've even discussed this with dance communities where I'm on a dance group chat where different dance enthusiasts will reach out and say, hey, do you want to do this dance? Do you want to meet here? Do you want to do something? And there was one individual who suggested that they have a wedding dance just for fun. He said, like, let's get a top 40 playlist and let's just all meet and jump around together. And the responses were so clear. It was people saying like, that kind of dancing might be fun for like 10 minutes, but I get bored with it. And they get bored because there's nothing to it. There's no form, there's no meaning, there's actually just no beauty at all. So once you learn something that even is just the simplest form, there's a delight that comes from that because you're perceiving beauty. And that's what beauty is, this delight in perceiving something that's so good and true. So we're doing so much more than just dance lessons to be active. We are trying to fulfill a deep human longing and restore a very important part of social life that we haven't had in the past several decades, if not century. This goes so much further than lessons. This is a remedy for a missing piece in festivals, wedding receptions, social gatherings in general.
So the class is called Waltzing Wednesdays. When you say the word waltz to me, I think of, as I'm sure many people do, movies that have famously featured waltzes in them, in the plot, or memorable scenes. I know even old movies like Gone with the Wind, there's some kind of a ball that happens there. But even if we go straight to the most common, the commodity, Disney, movies like Sleeping Beauty with the I Know You, I Danced With You Once Upon a Dream, is that the kind of waltzing that people can learn how to do in this class?
It actually is. So the kind of beautiful rotational waltz that you might be familiar with from movies like Sleeping Beauty is exactly what we're learning. And this is nothing but the Viennese waltz. Modern Viennese waltz has a couple of tweaks to it, but this simple rotational waltz that we learn day one of a Waltzing Wednesday series is the Viennese waltz. So you can take these steps to any kind of Viennese waltz, Blue Danube, anything that you would want to request at any other dance event. And it's simple, but it's profoundly beautiful. It's just what we've, I think, all grown to admire in some of these famous dance sequences in movies. At Waltzing Wednesdays, we also will get to explore different kinds of vintage ballroom dance. So even like the Victorian polka, if you have seen the movie The King and I, Anna and the King, and there's this scene where they start singing Shall We Dance, that's a polka. So that beautiful flight around that big ballroom that they're making with Anna in her gorgeous dress, that is the polka step. It's only one step they're doing there. If you haven't experienced that before, I can tell you it's like flying, and it's simple to learn, and there you can add more choreography to it, change it up, dance to all different kinds of Strauss polkas to really have that Viennese ball experience where you can explore all these different kinds of amazing choreographies. It's not a steep learning curve.
And so it is a class, but are there also going to be events at which people can put to the test or try out these visuals you're putting in people's heads by describing these beautiful waltzes? Will there be places they can apply the learning of those moves?
Right. So as I partner with Oratorio, I will design every lesson series to culminate in what I'm calling a showcase event, but that's more than just an exhibition. That's actually a dance or a ball. Think of just a party where the lesson participants will be there and they are able to perform what they've learned, but then there will be other dancers there as well. And it'll just have this feel of a traditional dance setting where you really are socializing, but also experiencing great art, great music.
Fantastic. Well, now we've got everybody excited about this class. When do they start?
Our Spring Waltzing Wednesday series will be Wednesdays in March, 3 Wednesdays in March. So that's March 4th, March 11th, March 18th, and then one last lesson April 8th before our culminating showcase on Saturday, April 11th.
Fantastic. Anna, thank you for joining us on the Singing, Dancing Catholic.
Thank you so much, James.
The mission of Oratorio is to enrich with music the shared effort to keep Fox Park a beautiful place to live. For information on cultural events, concerts, dances, music lessons, and how you can participate, visit oratoriostl.com. Thank you for listening.